Well, good morning. Today we're gathered with the Department of Public Works near our easternmost border of Marion County to once again remind residents of DPW's commitment and that the fact that DPW services stretch to the furthest edges of Marion County. That's because nearly every part of town is home to well-traveled stretches of asphalt like this one on 21st Street. From the county's edge to Post Road, this 3-mile segment of 21st Street bears the daily weight of thousands of commuters making their way to and from I-70, as well as hundreds of school buses shuttling kids to and from school, and massive trucks making deliveries to nearby big box retailers. Thankfully, this 3-mile stretch is joining 2 other major thoroughfares for $5 million worth of rehabilitation. With 157 lane miles total to be addressed in this year's capital program, residents can expect a smoother ride on local roads, thoroughfares, and other infrastructure throughout the entire community. Overall, we are putting a total of $167 million toward the 2021 construction season. The majority of that $167 million, about $125 million, will go exclusively toward transportation projects. That means more than 12 miles of new and restored sidewalks, over 7 miles of new and restored pedestrian trails, and 11 bridge projects, including a long-sought restoration of Kessler Boulevard Bridge over the White River, worth more than $6 million. But please note, we are investing in far more than our transportation and pedestrian infrastructure. Also included is a dedicated $42.6 million in stormwater projects. That includes over 5.5 miles of new storm sewers, a critical update when we consider the kind of rain that we have seen over this past week, or the 10-inch snow event that we experienced in February. All in all, these projects are substantial improvements to our city's built environment. I'd like to thank the men and the women of DPW, led by Director Dan Parker, as well as our many contractors. Throughout the past year, they have kept pace with our repair and infrastructure needs, even as a pandemic swept through our city. They kept roads plowed, they kept streets paved, they kept sidewalks repaired, leaving residents with one less thing to worry about. I should note, if you or somebody you know is on the hunt for a rewarding job in our community, join up with DPW. Positions are open and the city is hiring right now. Finally, I'd remind everyone that construction season does mean improvement, but it also means the occasional inconvenience. I encourage all residents, when you're out on your commute and encounter construction, be considerate and slow down for our construction teams. They are the hardest working folks in the city, and they're working for all of us. So on behalf of the city, I say to them a hearty thank you. for the good work that they do. So I'm pleased now to turn it over to City County Councilor Lakeisha Jackson, and she will then introduce City County Councilor Dan Boots for a City Council perspective on these construction projects. And then we'll let Director Parker wrap it up. Councilor Jackson?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you, sir.
Yes.
Good morning. Again, Lakeisha Jackson, City County Councilor for District 14. We're actually inside my district right here. 21st Street is my southern boundary. But from a council perspective, I'd like to thank Mayor Joe Hogsett and his administration team. They were the first in 20 years to come up with some type of infrastructure plan to get our city stabilized with the infrastructure to meet the infrastructure needs. And with that, I want to thank Director Parker for DPW and Steve, executive assistant, and the whole DPW staff for implementing this, as well as our City County Council. It took a vote to implement this multi-million-dollar plan over the years that the mayor has developed. Even beyond when he's gone, this plan will remain in place so that we will have infrastructure, good infrastructure, solid infrastructure for our city and our citizens and our constituents. I think what's most important too to note to the public that our city is gravely underfunded right now by the state. There's a formula that they utilize to actually come up with how much each county receives for state funding for infrastructure. Well, when that formula was done over 50 years ago, Indianapolis, as you see, has grown, expounded beyond leaps and bounds, especially when it comes to roads and streets and its infrastructure. So, for example, when there was original just 2 streets and we widened those to 4 streets in Indianapolis, we're still only getting funding for 2 of those streets and not 4. That's very important for the citizens and taxpayers and the public to realize and understand. So there's only a certain pot of money that we can take. So sometimes they say, Councilor, Mr. Mayor, why do our streets look this way? You can't just go and grab money from everywhere to put into infrastructure. There is a policy and procedure and statute for that. But I am honored today to specifically talk about Council District 14, the Far East Side, and what this means. What this means for us is more economic investment. It means investment into our community. It leads to major thoroughfares as you get off of 70, which is Post Road, which we have a major economic development going all the way up to 46th Street. As well, I want to talk about German Church Road. German Church Road has really been need to be done, and it's going to get done from 38th Street up to 42nd Street. So those constituents who are listening, who have complained, who done the bumpity bump as I have, for German Church will get done. It's in a process. It's been bidded out. It's ready to timeline to roll in construction. Again, major investment to the city, major investment to the Far East Side, and what that means, it opens the doors for investment and economic investment into the communities with this redevelopment. We know that with major infrastructure comes major growth. It improves the beautification, and they say that also decreases crime, which is a huge area in some of the places we're developing in. So that's key too. We want to beautify our city. We want to give the taxpayers what they've been paying for, and most significantly what they deserve. We want a beautified city with great streets, walkable sidewalks, and safety for our pedestrians, for our residents. And we've had several incidents on the Far East Side where pedestrians were hit because there was lack of sidewalks. This process and this new infrastructure will help in reducing that. We're asking people to slow down a little bit too, but in the process, this infrastructure development with the new sidewalks that Mayor Hogsett just mentioned will be our first and huge step to helping towards that. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Taxpayers, if you have requests, send them, download an app to requestindy.org, and then you can download your infrastructure needs or requests or pothole fields there. But thank you. And on the Far East Side, we're grateful again to the mayor and your administration for helping to support these new and great infrastructure projects. Go German Church, go Far East Side, go District 14. Now I have the honor to introduce my colleague, Councilor Dan Boots. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the invitation today. Councilor Jackson and Director Parker, thank you as well for all your effort. As I mentioned, I am Dan Boots, District Council 3, northeast side of town, and I'm just here today to support the efforts of our administration and DPW and to echo some of the concerns that on the council we have for the funding of our county as it competes with the funding of the state. As Councilor Jackson had mentioned, we have been woefully underfunded by the state for a decade or more due to the formula they use based on tax revenue through gas funds and gas taxes. We have fought that battle. We have corrected some of it, but it's still not totally accurate. You'll in the future hear the term of lane miles, how we get paid for lane miles. That's a mile of road, whether it's 6 lanes or 1 lane. 1-lane roads in Henry County get the same amount of money as our 6-lane roads on 38th Street do per mile. You can do the math. It's woefully unfair for urban areas in our state, and that's one of the big reasons for where our infrastructure program is today. Our administration has taken heroic steps to increase that funding. In tight fiscal times, we've been able to fund millions of dollars of projects, and the administration is to be commended for that. I have been very grateful in my area to have, just in the last 2 years, Keystone redone from 38th to 96th Street, Benford Boulevard done from 46th Street up to 79th Street, Dean Road construction from 62nd to 79th or to 82nd starting next week. So I am very thankful for what's done in my district, and I do encourage the public. I get a lot of calls and contacts over roads and drainage and things of that sort. I encourage the public to use the Mayor Action Center contact points. It is that data upon which we accumulate what are the greatest needs in our county. Phone calls to my office help, but that's not the real answer. Please use the avenues that are there to contact those sources, compile the data that we then as councilors can come to the administration and DPW and say, we have a great need in our area. Here is data showing the public's contact of the city on these issues. So again, I want to just thank the administration for its efforts and also for Director Parker for taking my weekend calls and after-hour calls and our calls on the way to work every week or so. And Mr. Hardiman as well is a great resource for our city. We're very to have him as well. So thank you very much. And on that note, I do have the honor to introduce our Director of DPW, Dan Parker.
Councilor, thank you. My name is Dan Parker, Director of DPW. I want to thank the Mayor for being out here today and the support he's given DPW over the course of his administration. I'd also like to thank Dan Boots, who is a member of the Public Works Committee, and Councilor Jackson, thank you for being a tireless advocate for the Far East Side and your district. This German Church Road project that the councilor mentioned would not have happened without your advocacy. I want to thank Warren Township Schools and Lakeside Elementary for allowing us to come out today as we undertake the process of rebuilding 21st Street and a lot of other projects on the east side. Also want to thank David Borden, who's our Deputy Director of Engineering, who has to make sure that Mayor, all that $167 million is spent efficiently. Also want to thank Steve Hardiman, who has been mentioned by our councilors, who takes care of a lot of issues. Mayor, our Superintendent of District 4 Operations, our own street maintenance, Jamie Cole is with us today. Our own street maintenance operations will also be doing projects all across the county. As the Mayor mentioned, we undertake today the start of construction season, $167 million worth of projects. That comes on top of the map to my right that shows all of the projects that have been done since 2016. That equals over over $600 million worth of capital investments in stormwater, roads, bridges, sidewalks, trails for the last 5 years. So the $167 million this year, as you can see, a lot of roads, particularly here on the east side, but a lot of sidewalk projects that you'll see in green on that map. We're incredibly proud of the investments we've made over the last few years in sidewalks and trails, connectivity projects, and pedestrian safety. So as the mayor mentioned, the great part of construction season is seeing gentlemen like this behind us and women working, doing construction. But our message to motorists all across the city is please slow down, make their job safer, please. They are out here making your commute a safer one, a smoother one. What we can do as residents is please give them the time and space they need to get their job done. Same with DPW crews that are out there. Please take it slow, slow down, be attentive when you're in construction zones. With that, my mask will be happy to take any questions.
Can you talk about the area?
Sure. We have a big project about to start down in the Twin Air area. It's about $10 million worth of investments going in to get ready for the new Community Justice Campus. You'll see improvements on Southeastern and Pleasant Run first, and then what the Indianapolis Star likes to refer to as Dysfunction Junction will be reconstructed. A roundabout will go in at that location to make it a safer intersection for folks to get down and travel Southeastern and rural streets.
When will that project start?
That project should start any day.
Is 167 an increase over last year?
167 is a little bit less than last year. Last year we had, the mayor announced a program in 2018, was that? 2018, it was a 4-year, $400 million campaign. Now on the sort of downward side of that, and a lot of that relates back to the funding issues that the councilors mentioned, but still a significant spend in comparison to previous years before that 2018 program was announced.
Is there current legislation to address those funding?
There's not current legislation, but there's at least dialogue with our folks down at the other end of Market Street.
Mr. Parker, last week you were at the State House. You're at the State House talking about the blue and purple line. Do you have any reaction to some of the funding concerns over those two lines that you expressed at the State House and other lawmakers in your opinion were listening to your concerns?
Well, as you can see on our map, we do have the road reconstruction related to the purple line that is supposed to bid this year as a part of our road construction because we are a part of that project. We're very concerned about the funding for the purple line, particularly since it's supposed to bid, I believe, next month. And 38th Street corridor needs the investment. It's federal dollars that are going to go elsewhere if the legislation that is currently written would jeopardize the purple line. And what my objective, the mayor asked me to go over to testify on behalf of the city and the investments that could come from the federal grant. Those dollars are going to go elsewhere if we turn them away. And the 38th Street corridor is one that needs that investment. The councilor can speak to that as well, because that purple line will go through Council District 14 as well. And we just think that those investment dollars, federal dollars, are needed because that goes directly for infrastructure. Separating the sewers, sidewalks, curbs, ADA ramps, and absolutely new pavement for 38th Street, which is critically needed. For anyone who's driven 38th Street, you know that it's needed.
Real quick, Mayor, while we have you out here, can we have a quick comment about the lowered age and vaccine eligibility that was announced this morning.
Yeah, once again, I want to issue thanks to the governor and to the state administration for really two decisions that have been made this morning, lowering the age for vaccine eligible individuals, and then of course last week's announcement that effective March 31, I believe, anyone over the age of 16, I believe, the governor announced. So more shots in more arms will accelerate our ability as a community to return to some sense of normalcy. As Dr. Kane and I jointly announced last week, we are maintaining our mask requirement as well as social distancing. All of the restrictions that apply to restaurants and businesses remain in place. But today's announcement, and as I said, with more people being vaccinated, I'm optimistic that in reasonably short order, that will help us get to a point where we can lift some of those restrictions and maybe even consider ending the mask mandate for Marion County. How quickly? I don't know. I'm not speculating. I'm not trying to propose a time frame. We're just going to simply watch the data and let the science help us make decisions. I'd say as a final matter, we're glad to have March Madness here. It's certainly given the people of Indianapolis, I think, a sense of hope and restoration. But we'll have to look at the data in the middle of probably the middle of April, once the tournament has come and gone. As Dr. Kane also underscores, we're watching the data very closely because we have a lot of families and a lot of young people returning from spring break or on spring break. So we'll have to see what our positivity rates do as the result of that. Thank you. Hey, great job.